When you've lived for over 2,000 years and command fire strong enough to erase existence itself, you aren't just feared, you're a legend. In the world of Bleach, strength is often defined by Bankai, raw spiritual pressure, and tactical dominance. But even among legends like Aizen, Unohana, and Kenpachi, one man stood at the top: Genryūsai Yamamoto, the founder and the commander of the Gotei 13. This is not just a breakdown of his strength, this is a journey through discipline, loyalty, tradition, and the heavy burden of leading a world through millennia of war. Yamamoto wasn't just the captain commander, he was the Soul Society's origin point. Over 1,000 years before the main story, he founded the Gotei 13, transforming what was once a chaotic world of scattered soul reapers into an organized military institution. Yamamoto believed in absolute discipline and control. His power was so immense that even standing near him felt like incineration. As the wielder of Ryujin-Jaka, the oldest and most powerful fire-type Zanka, Yamamoto could turn the battlefield into a wasteland. He became a symbol of order, fear, and judgment, and for centuries, his very presence was enough to deter rebellion or invasion. But his strength came with a price. As the Soul Society grew more political and structured, Yamamoto's role shifted from warrior to guardian, a silent pillar no longer allowed to strike first. Yamamoto's personality was the embodiment of military order, unwavering honor, and tradition forged in fire. He didn't merely lead by power, he ruled by principle, with an iron grip forged from centuries of war and sacrifice. Under his leadership, the Gotei 13 was more than a military organization. It reflected his worldview, order above all, and absolute duty without question. To Yamamoto, deviation from one's post or hesitation in battle was a betrayal of the Soul Society itself. Yamamoto was far from cold. His silence held weight. His authority wasn't earned through charm or speeches. It was built over 1,000 years of discipline, victory, and fear. Even warriors like Kenpachi Zaraki, who respected few, acknowledged Yamamoto's dominance without challenge. His words were not up for debate. His presence alone could silence a room of captains. Yet deep beneath that hard exterior was a man carrying unimaginable weight. The 1,000-year blood war exposed that inner conflict. When Yamamoto faced Yubahak, he didn't fight a leader upholding rules. He fought a betrayed guardian of everything he had built. He believed that mercy weakened the institution that was once effective in a brutal era, but that same rigidity became a liability. His worldview clashed violently with a changing Soul Society, one that needed adaptability and strategy over brute tradition. In the end, Yamamoto wasn't flawed because he lacked strength or conviction. He was flawed because he believed strength alone could preserve order, never realizing that change too was a form of resilience. His fall was not just the death of a leader, but of an age. His power, Ryujin-Jaka, even in the Shikai form, it could incinerate anything in its path, unleashing fire that burns at temperatures of the sun. His flames were so intense that even allied captains couldn't stand near him in battle. But his Bankai, Zanka no Teki, was another level entirely. This ability compressed all of his flames into the blade itself, rendering it visually unimpressive yet overwhelmingly dangerous. The sword could disintegrate anything it touches. The Bankai had 4 forms: Agashi East, Nishi West, Minami South, and Kita North, each one more terrifying than the last. From summoning the charred corpses of the dead to burning an opponent out of existence, Yamamoto's full power was almost too destructive to be used casually. He never needed to use his full power. For over 1,000 years, he relied on restraint and the fear of what he could do. But when he finally unleashed Zanka no Teki against Yubahak, it wasn't already too late. His enemy had prepared for the very power Soul Society had come to take for granted. For all his overwhelming might, Yamamoto's downfall in Bleach was not a result of weakness. It was a result of unshakable belief in a world that no longer existed. His greatest enemy wasn't just Yubahak, it was time itself. He was a relic of an era where force and tradition were enough to uphold the balance of the world. But in the Thousand-Year Blood War arc, those rules no longer applied. When Yamamoto faced Yubahag, he unleashed his Bankai for the first time in over 1,000 years. It wasn't meant to be a final declaration of dominance. Instead, it became a fatal miscalculation. The enemy he destroyed wasn't the real Yubahag, but a decoy. The real threat appeared once the Bankai was already spent. And with shocking ease, Yubahag cut Yamamoto down and stole his Bankai. This moment wasn't more than a death. It was a symbolic collapse of a belief system. Yamamoto stood for unyielding strength, but against an evolving enemy like the Quincy, that strength became brittle. He had no plan for deception, no backup strategy, and no trust in adaptability. His death forced the Gotei 13 to confront the truth, which is that they could no longer rely singularly on power. Figures like Shunsu Kyuraku and Urohara began to step forward, thinkers, planners, leaders who embodied change. In the end, Yamamoto's tragedy was not his fall in battle, but his refusal to bend until it was too late. His final lesson to the Soul Society wasn't in fire, it was in silence, which is that even the strongest must evolve or they will burn with the past they protect. In conclusion, Yamamoto wasn't just the strongest captain in Bleach. He was its foundation, the fire that lit for Soul Reapers, the wall that stood against centuries of war, and the blade that cut through rebellion before it began. But in the end, the same flame that protected the Soul Society also blinded it. His legacy is one of power, pride, and tragedy. He taught us that strength without evolution becomes fragility, and that loyalty without adaptability can lead to downfall.